India and China will hold the 18th round of dialogue on boundary issues tomorrow and day after in New Delhi. India's new special representative, NSA Ajit Doval, would sit across the table with his counterpart Yang Jiechi to discuss the contentious boundary issue. Ahead of the talks, in an exclusive interview to Headlines Today, Chinese envoy to India hopes that the two countries would be able to achieve smaller steps for an eventual breakthrough. He is hopeful that Prime Minister Modi's visit to Beijing in May this year will yield significant results. Let's listen in.
The Indian and the Chinese special representatives for the boundary dispute will be meeting soon. What should we expect from those talks? I'm joined here by the Chinese ambassador to Delhi, Mr. Liu Cheng. Excellency, to begin with, we will have that fresh round of talks shortly. What really are your expectations on that boundary dialogue?
Yeah, boundary questions have been left over by from history. So we have consistently been seeking a fair and acceptable to both sides solution. So since the change of the government in both countries, especially after India has nominated the new special representative for the boundary talks, Mr. Doval, which is my good friend. Yes, and we are planning a new round of talks. I think it is a new start, and we are looking forward to have a continuity of the spirit and the atmosphere that we have, from the previous talks. So I think the both sides will, express our vision that we need to find a way out of the dilemma. We need to make some new developments.
There have already been 17 rounds of talks so far. In fact, Mr. Shiv Shankar Menon was the special representative so far. Now you have Mr. Ajit Doval, whom you call a good friend, the new National Security Advisor.
Yes.
What new things are on the table really? Is there something new that we can expect to, or is it just going to be about the old issues and the old approaches?
Yes, both are, especially from the Indian side, and the representatives are. It's a new one, so we need to review the previous talks, and then we will find there is some more ideas to get out of the problem. If we can make some small progress. We say small progress makes a breakthrough. So we need to accumulate some small steps. Suppose we have some areas that we do have some consensus, and we can through joint efforts make some progress in these areas, and then we start from the easy part to the more difficult part, step by step.
But for the more difficult part, do you think for Mr. Narendra Modi, who won handsomely in the elections, who has a decisive mandate, whose party, the BJP, is considered a right-of-centre party, a nationalist party, will it perhaps be easier for Mr. Modi to take a tougher decision to try and solve this issue? Is he better placed than Mr. Manmohan Singh?
We don't know. We need to continue our talks and to enhance the understandings between our two sides. It's a process, not just we solve the problem overnight.
What is happening in Sri Lanka or Maldives, and with Ms. Modi also, of course, on that Indian Ocean tour. What sort of a competition is there between India and China as far as consolidating your foothold is concerned?
I don't see any competition between our two countries. Both countries, we are largest developing countries, we are big neighbors. We need to cooperate, and we need to enhance our ties and cooperations with many countries, not only with one or two countries. We we have a good neighboring policy with all the neighboring countries, and South Asia is a part of Chinese neighboring diplomacy. So we need to enhance the cooperation with all the countries. So I think India has enjoyed a very traditional or friendship or close ties with its neighboring countries. So I would say cooperation rather than competition. So China and India, we can together cooperate in enhancing ties or cooperations with our neighboring countries.
But for the longest time we have heard reports of how China is really focusing on this string of pearls theory to surround India.
Yeah.
Is India in a way also, you think, trying to weave its own pearls now with its own realignments?
No, that's the ridiculous speculation. We don't believe that. We are China and India now are very good partners, and we are looking forward to His Excellency's visit, Prime Minister Modi's visit to China. And I think this visit will produce more products and which is conducive to the benefits of our two peoples. So the so-called pearl chain, that's you don't. I hope you will not believe.
But did it worry you, the fact that India and US issued that strategic vision document where South China Sea was specifically mentioned? Do you see India taking a more active stand, aligning with the United States perhaps on this issue?
I hope not, because China, India, and United States, are the major powers in the world, and United States is the biggest developed country, and while China and India the largest developing countries. So the developing and developed, we need to complement each other's advantages and to join hands to do some good things, not to compete with each other or to contain each other. And as mentioned during the conclave, that the South China Sea remains always stable and secure. So we need concentrate our attention efforts to combat terrorism, to more other challenges in elsewhere, not just instead of in the South China Sea.
But that is what you hope. But do you see any attempts at containment happening here? Because India is very important for the United States strategic pivot rebalancing in Asia, where it is seen that India is working now closer with the US.
And I think India is in the ancient country with time-honored civilizations. I think India I believe India will take independent position and do what he thinks whether it is good or not for his country. I don't see India can benefit from containing China or from participation in the containing in the plans of other countries to contain China.
Just last two questions. On the issue of terrorism, China and Pakistan are considered all-weather friends. You say that your friendship is as high as the mountains, as deep as the seas. Can this friendship be more increasingly used to influence Pakistan in the way it deals with terrorism, especially the groups that operate against India's interests? You have the attackers of the Mumbai attack still set free in Pakistan. And there seems to be a dual strategy, that Pakistan is acting against Taliban, which is against Pakistan, but not the groups that are against India. Can China play an important role there?
China is also a victim of terrorism. We have terrorism problems in our own country or in the periphery of our states. So we are enhancing our efforts to combat terrorism. So wherever it comes from. As for the India-Pakistan, we hope that the India and Pakistan are both our good neighbors. We hope India and Pakistan will live in peace, and China will do what we can to help the two countries come together and to be good friends and neighbors.
Just one last question. So when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits China, he's also expected to go to President Xi Jinping's village. In fact, what all can we expect? Are we expecting some big economic announcements as well, of some more trade investments and of trade balancing from China?
Yes, we are expecting His Excellency's Prime Minister's visit to China, and it is biggest event in our relations this year, and China is now preparing for this summit, and we hope that and we believe that this visit will bring tangible benefits to the welfare of our two peoples. But now, for the time being, we are only at the preparing stage. We can't say for sure what will happen. But wait and see.
Well, we wish you all the luck with that. Thank you so much for speaking to Headlines today. So the Chinese ambassador there stressing on the fact that it would be more advantageous for India and China perhaps to work together rather than try to contain each other. With video journalist Ashwini Helen in New Delhi, this is Smita Sharma for Headlines Today.